Hello everyone, and welcome to my weekly stream about the Uno platform, and where I'm doing some debugging of the Uno platform. And I'm just going to be turning off the feedback that I have locally. It's going to be easier on my ears. So my name is Jérôme Lavant. I'm the CTO of the open source project Uno platform, and I'm spending about an hour every week taking a look at what's happening with the Uno platform, debugging a few issues, or like this week, upgrading and adding C# support to the Uno playground that I'm going to be demoing a bit afterwards, because we made some changes recently in Uno platform 4.1 that we released last week. If you're on the chat, welcome, and please don't hesitate to ask questions if you have any. I see that Jose is already there. So you already have questions, so I'll go there for that one later on during the stream. So last week we released Uno Platform 4.1, which includes quite a few things, and it's on my site here. So probably you can see a few things. Let me put that to the side. So it's all about 3% performance boost and Android 12, .NET 6, and a few additional things. And what we're gonna do is just go around all those to see what we have there. So what we spent a lot of time during the UnoConf that we had during fall here, North Hemisphere fall, was about performance, and we found a lot of things that we could do to change how the application performs, especially with regards to how the UI is measured. So there are critical things that are happening. There are lots of things that are happening when we're showing UI on screen, and then at that time, the shorter time we spend in those measure and arrange passes. So when we're doing the rendering, the faster the UI goes. And we spend a lot of time optimizing those. And there's Cal, which is on the stream currently, which spent quite a bit of time looking at how to optimize something that is called a measure dirty path. And when we're taking a look at this, the idea is that before this, when you have, let's say, a grid, which is contained in a grid and a grid and a grid, and every, let's say you have 100 levels down, when you're changing something in the grid in the deepest end, then all the grids that are apparent need to be updated and need to be remeasured. And what happened previously is that we were naive in terms of the implementation, and we were remeasuring all the items down to the path of the element that needed to be remeasured. And there's an optimization that can be done, which is if nothing changed in any of the items that are in between the item that wants to be remeasured and the items in the middle, we can just skip them and then go straight down to the element that's at the bottom. So it can give some 30% improvement or more depending on the cases, and that's pretty amazing. And on that side, we're still doing some updates, and Cal will probably be able to speak about that next during the next release. But we're also optimizing the arrange pass. So we got the measure first, and then the arrange pass, and that arrange path is going to be significantly improved. And but we're not saying too much yet, but it's going to be interesting. The other one that we added support for is the WebAssembly memory profiler, and I'm not going to go too deep into that one, because I actually made a live stream session about this one, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So if you search for this on YouTube, for the Uno platform, on the .NET platform YouTube, you're going to find a video of that one showing how to profile your applications. So basically, it's all about being able to memory profile your application so that you can find all the memory leaks and memory consumption issues that you may have in your application. This is something that WebAssembly, .NET for WebAssembly doesn't provide by default. But we added that support into what we call the Uno Bootstrapper, which is the component that we have at the base of all the Uno applications, and which provides the WebAssembly support. And that's where we added support for the Mono logging profiler, which creates files that can be opened in the Xamarin Profiler. So that's one of the few things that are interesting. We also, because we've been able to profile those applications using the memory profiler, we made memory allocations improvement. So reducing allocations in critical paths, like removing enumerators that were not supposed to be there, or improve memory pooling or things like that. Particularly, there's one memory pooling system that is particularly interesting. We added the support for memory manager class, which allows for applications to determine their memory pressure. And we're using that memory manager class to adjust the memory, the array pooling support. So that's going to be it. So I see Jose is asking questions. So patience, I'm going to be going there pretty soon. So I'm just explaining what happened in Uno 4.1. Another one that's pretty interesting is the merge style tooling for our performance, and that one is actually quite interesting. It's a tool that we developed that allows to merge XAML files. And when you're developing applications, you may have multiple files that are in your applications for a resource dictionary. So when you're defining your styles and a few other things like this, and if you're separating files because it's easier to read, then it may take more time to load, and that's where the Uno XAML merge task NuGet package can help. So you install this in your application, follow the instruction in that for that NuGet package, and then you're gonna get some interesting performance improvement, like around 30% or more, depending on how many files you got there. This is something that we added inside of Uno itself, and to give you an idea, we went from 80 resource dictionary to be parsed to resolve resources to about 304, which is a significant improvement. So that was interesting. On the other parts, we had Android 12, something that is just yearly updates, so that we follow what the store is able to provide here. And the last one is the support for .NET 6 mobile, and that one is quite interesting because there are lots of things that are happening there, and it's going to change again this week, because there's going to be a new .NET 6 mobile preview that's going to come out. So the current Uno 4.1 supports .NET 6 mobile preview 13, and there are going to be break-in changes that are going to be introduced in preview 14. So we're going to make an update so that you can continue doing some .NET 6 for your .NET 6 mobile applications. So there you go. You can still use Uno check to get to update your applications and make sure that your environment is working properly. So there's that. One of the things that we added, and we haven't commented on this one, it's the support for in the playground. We added support for the community toolkit. So for instance, you can see here that I have a sample, and in that sample you get some new namespaces that were added. So in here, MTUC means Microsoft Toolkit UI controls, and you can use, for instance, the range selector control, and that one is quite interesting. It's a control that comes from the toolkit, so you can pretty much test your controls, the controls that are coming from the community toolkit inside of the Uno playground. Another one that works is the alignment grid. So that one is a control that allows you to make sure that your controls are aligned on your let's say your pages or controls, and it basically draws a grid below. So you can see here that one is Firebrick, but let's say if I put it red, then I can, or let's say black, the grid is going to be at opacity 0.2, so that's why it's not visible that much. But let's say you can see that grid here, so there you go. You can test your UI that way, and by using the community toolkit directly. So Jose, you were asking about the playground for C#. You can see here that the playground only supports XAML and data. What we're calling data here is actually a piece of JSON that is data bound to the XAML here, and it does not allow to add C# here. It doesn't allow to add C# here. So what we're going to do is add an additional tab, And actually, I tried to do this during the previous stream, and we found that the Monaco editor is not able to be placed multiple times in the same application. So that's what we're going to take a look at. And the XAML Llama that was watching the stream last week or 2 weeks ago mentioned that it's something that he fixed in the original version of the Monaco editor support for .NET or actually for UWP. So what I've done is basically take his version of the Monaco editor that's on GitHub and merge that into our version that's for Uno, and try to see if that changes anything and if there's a few additional things that we need to do. So what we're going to do today is try to get the Monaco editor to run, to have two Monaco editors at the same time in the same application, because last time it didn't work. The first one was showing up, but the second one was just doing nothing. So that's what we're going to try to do. So what I did originally is merge the branch. So we can see here that we are in the Monaco editor component. So probably a bit too small here. Let me bump this one up. So we're in the Monaco editor component. This is the when we're talking about Monaco, we're talking about this component here. This is based on the support for advanced edition, text edition, and with syntax coloring, and a few other things like being able to show errors and show IntelliCode and things like not IntelliCode, but code lengths, a few other things that are available directly. And this is the code editor that's part of Visual Studio Code. So it's pretty full featured. So that's why we're using it here. And let's go try to see what we can do with this one. Hi Mignitz, thanks for joining. So I took our branch and merged everything that comes from the branch coming from the XAML Llama, and we're going to try to see if everything builds properly. So what I did before didn't compile, so I'm thinking there are things that I broke, and I'm going to try to adjust a few things back. So what you can see here is that I have all the changes that are modifications that need to be made from the upstream merge to the Uno merge, to the Uno repo, and we're going to try to see if it works for starters, and then try to adjust and see where that goes. So let's see. What do we have? Lots of errors. Dispatcher type is defined in an assembly that doesn't exist. So let's see. Probably we should be updating something. So it says dispatcher queue is defined in an assembly that is not referenced. So we're probably referencing something that is out of date here. So let's see. We have Uno 4.8. We have the Uno toolkit here. Let's see. Is it an older version of it? We have, let's see. So when it says that kind of things, it generally means that we have, elements that are out of sync. Now, what I don't know is that if the error is from .NET, so because we're building for two target frameworks, we're building for UWP, and we're also building for NetStart. So because we don't know which of the targets framework is causing the error here, we're going to try to remove the target framework here and see which one was causing the issue. So let's rebuild this one and see. Okay. So the error is different. Now that's good. So we have a few things that were modified, but probably not that useful there. Code editor presenter. Loaded change. So that I don't know what this does. So I'm going to be commenting out a few things depending on what's available. So one of the things that we're doing is in the version of the WebAssembly version of that control, we're not using a web view because we're already in the web. So all the things that are related to web view management here are removed basically. So we're taking those out and using WebAssembly JavaScript interop directly because we're already able to execute JavaScript. So that is the first one. I see that we still have a view here with margin. Same thing here for now. We're just taking this one out. I see that Visual Studio is not happy that much. In general, it's fine, but in here, okay, there you go. So let's try again. So it looks like it's doing something. So I'm on 17.1, 17.2 preview 1. So there, I've seen a few issues there. So let's kill this one and start again. Because it doesn't look like it's complying too much today. So let's see. Let's try it again. So we were in the Monaco editor. Okay, so let's build it again and see the errors that we get this time. Okay, so we have a few errors in TypeScript, and most probably because I copied over stuff that was not supposed to be there. We're going to be replacing the content directly. So on the errors, we have a queue here that's not working properly. So dispatcher queue is supposed to be providing a dispatcher queue. Dispatcher queue. So I don't know if we have that one here. So we're on core dispatcher in this case, but core dispatcher dispatcher queue comes with another one. So we need to do dispatcher queue get for current thread instead. So this one is dispatcher queue is a type that replaces core dispatcher that comes from UWP, and when you're running on latest versions of UWP to be compatible with WinUI, so you can move to dispatcher queue. Behaves the same way, but it's cross compatible with WinUI code, so that makes it easier. So that's it for this one. What's next? We have async operations, so sanitizing for JSON. So the JSON is actually an async something. So that is something that changed. It was not async before, and now it is. But in this case, because we're not doing anything async, we're just going to be removing this for now. Because WebAssembly is not running with threading, and that's something that we really want to have. And the .NET team is working on it for .NET 7, so that's going to be nice when it gets there. But we're not there yet. So let's return an empty document if it fails. Actually, let's remove it completely for now. If we want to have an async version of this, we'll modify it later on. So when we do get threading for .NET 6, that's going to help a lot for the performance of applications. It's not there yet. It used to be there in mono/mono. And in Uno, we had that support for a while, kind of preliminary, but that changed. And I learned recently that because of Firefox, or actually, and probably others, there's a need to have a specific server configuration for attributes that allows for shared buffers to work properly and avoid the security issues I don't remember which one that was, but there were timing issues for cache invalidation or cache guessing and things like that. So those were there. So for this type of issue, that means that we need to change the server configurations. That's something that we're going to be adding ourselves in the default configuration for using the web.config and others when that happens. So we'll see what the support for .NET 7 is going to bring. We're not there yet, but that looks like it's going to be interesting. Okay, so for this file, which is not working properly, let's go take a look at the original file in the original repository. We're going to just pick the original content and use that directly. So there you go. Okay, and the other one is the same file. Okay, so just picking up what's in the original file and not changing it. We're just trusting blindly the XAML llama that has made the right thing at the right time. So that's good. So we're going to be ignoring the warnings for now, but we'll see if that works. If that works properly. Okay, so if we go to just making sure that we're on the latest. So we're not on the latest. So let's update to some latest previews for the Bootstrapper. We can also update Uno. Let's do this for now. And we'll see if it still works. It may not be, because we've changed a few things in the back. So what we don't know yet is that is multiple instances of the same, it's multiple instances of Monaco are supported in the same environment. So we're going to try to fix that first, and then maybe what the llama updated will help. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to figure this one out. What I don't know is that is Monaco supports that by default. Maybe it doesn't. We're gonna try to figure this one out. Language provider does not implement resolve completion item. Okay, so that's some new API that was added to the completion provider. And for now, we're gonna be removing this. So UWP is not the target that we want for now, at least. So we're adding support for async completion async operation, and it's going to be empty for now. I don't think we have tests for those, so we're going to have to figure out what we need to do with this one. So let's start the application. I don't know if we have the linker enabled, so we can disable the linker. If you disable the linker, the application builds faster. We changed that in the default templates for Uno, but since that application is a bit older, it doesn't have everything set already. Okay, so we have background color that changed. So it's not a solid color brush, but just a single color. So let's adjust that and see for the rest. I don't know for the rest. Okay, it worked. Well, it built actually. So we'll see if we're getting something that changed. I think I see a few things that are not supposed to be working. So we have one feature that is being used here. It's a async info.run. Probably gonna have to take a look at this one, try to implement it. It's defined in Uno but not implemented, so it may not. It likely won't probably won't, will crash at runtime if we're trying to use it. Okay, so what do we see? We're supposed to be seeing something here, and we're not seeing anything. Okay, so are there errors? We've got the loader js.map that's not saying anything. So it's not doing much. So let's go take a look at what we have in there. Okay, so we have a code editor presenter. That looks pretty much empty. So that's not a good start. So let's try to figure out why we don't have anything here. So in the code editor presenter, the code editor, we have a few things like a code editor presenter here. We have the WebAssembly file here. So that one's not supposed to be changed, but it may be that there was something changed in here in the code editor that makes it that we're not creating the code editor properly. There were also changes in the generic.xaml, but that one wasn't changed much. We had the code editor. We have the code editor presenter that's in here. Now, is it created properly? So, code editor. So one of the things that we did is upgrade the application to the latest, and it could be that the logging is not enabled properly. So we're going to have to figure this one out. Yes, so there's no logging configured. So that's probably one of the good reasons we're not seeing anything. There may be an exception that we don't see. So for an older application, we need to enable the logging support. And to find this, we just need to go in the solution templates. You can make your own application and start new .NET new, and you can copy the content. I'm showing you the actual location of that code when you're running from when you're looking at GitHub. So we get in the app constructor, we have the initialize logging method. I'm going to put that in our app, and then do the same thing for the initialize logging completely at the end. So let's pick up this method completely. Put that at the end. And let's do some namespace resolution. Okay, so we're missing the Uno UI adapter. So that one is a new NuGet package that we added in Uno 4. We're going to be adding it manually. And it's called Uno UI adapter Microsoft extensions logging. So it's a big one, but it's an important one. It allows you to have your logging show up in the output. Otherwise, if there are errors, you won't see anything. And this one is coming from not the right one, obviously. And did I pick up the right one? Yes, it's probably, so we need to update the logging binaries to later ones. So these ones are coming from Microsoft extensions logging and the update. So if you're upgrading for a previous version of Uno, you may want to take a look at our documentation here. If you search for upgrading, migrating from previous versions of Uno, and then you can find in Uno 4 what needs to be added, which NuGet packages you need to add, and what needs to be changed so that you're getting to the proper logging. So we want the logging 500, and that one will give us the logger factory create if that works properly. There you go. And we also need this one, which is a logging extension that comes from the web, and that one we can find. So it gives us the syntax coloring and a few other things like this when there's an error, it's going to appear, red or yellow or others for the other colors, for the other types of errors. And it comes from a specialized logger that you need to install. And that one is coming from here. So it's Uno extensions logging. I don't know why they were supposed to be able to select the full line here when double clicking, but it's not happening anymore. Anyways, so let's add that one to the application as well. There we go. And we shouldn't be having any more errors. All goes well. There you go. So let's start again and see what broke. It's likely that there was something that broke. probably an exception. And we see often, people saying, oh, I don't see anything, the application doesn't start, or there's nothing that happens. You can take a look in the browser debugger if you see anything. And if you don't see anything, sometimes it's just because the filters that you set in your application are not the right ones. So you can change those to show a lot more than just warnings. So there we go. So we have a few exceptions that came up. So the first error is the fact that Delta Decoration Helper Async is doing some async stuff that's not supposed to happen. So let's go take those one out, because we can't do it because we're in C# on WebAssembly, and it is not available. So that one is supposed to be async here. So in that case, we're just going to be making it a task and just await the result for now. So that's the first one. And the second one, I think there was a second implementation for this method. That was the only one, because it's okay. So I was talking about the fact that the linker is enabled if your application takes a bit of time to compile, which is the case in this application. You can go and pick up the fact that we can disable the linker here. So in that file, by default now in the newer templates, we're disabling the linker. And you can disable this in the debug configuration in your project. So let's see again if we have a different error. So this time it should be building faster, because there's no more linker. And I can see that we have an older version of the MS Build SDK extras. We're going to bump this one up as well. So that message is not supposed to be here, but it happens when you have an older version of it. So there you go. Okay, so we're still not working, but we probably have another exception. Okay, so this time we have object reference not set to an instance of an object. So in add command async. Let's go and see what this one is. Probably not this one. So I don't know which one that is. So let's see. It's code editor.methods. Line 4141. Okay, so it fails here. Probably could be that the parent accessor is null. So let's see, where is that one coming from? So it's a partial class. It's an internal. It's an internal something. And it looks like it should be set. But for some reason it's not set, so it could be because we failed to initialize something. So it could be. So let's see if we're executing that method. Okay, so it probably is caused by this. This method is not being called, so probably it happens because the method is now called ahead of time. And we're not ready yet. Okay, so editor loading. Okay, so it probably happens because we're here and we're too early. So as we're too early, so that means that this parent accessor is not available yet. So let's see, we have on view DOM load content. So that is not executed by the looks of it. And the second one is another one, which is in the code editor event, but it's in web view navigation starting. So that one is not good. Okay, so we have something that needs to be done in the code editor when the editor starts up. And I thought I changed that, but it looks like the DOM content loaded is not being invoked properly, or the other one for that matter. So we have it here. So let's go take a look at the changes for that, for some of the files in the code editor. So we were invoking some JavaScript when the code editor was loaded, but by the looks of it, it looks like we're not doing it anymore. So the setup is not done properly. So let's go find this one out. So I think we do have in the original version of the Monaco editor. Let's see. It's going to be easier if we find it here. I don't know if we can. Cannot search in this one. Let's see. Oh, I'm not signed up here either, so that won't help. Okay. So let's see. I search for WASM here. What do I find? So we're supposed to be invoking the code editor loaded to say that it needs to initialize itself, but for some reason we're not doing it at the right place. And yeah, okay, so we've made the turn, so it's not there. Okay. So what we're gonna do is that we're going to commit this, and I'm going to make a second Visual Studio with the same thing. So when I'm upgrading versions between, let's say migrating code from a previous branch, I'm generally doing a work tree. So for this, I'm going to be making a new work tree with a different name. So let's go take a look at the documentation for work trees, because I never remember. So it's work tree add, and one of the commands you can add is, let's see, there are some examples at the end. Work tree add. Oh, I missed it. I think it's a bit above, or completely at the end. Examples. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be using the examples work tree add, and we're going to branch out master in a separate folder. So I'm going to be calling this Uno Monaco Editor UWP-2, because it's going to be my second work tree. And it's going to be called, I don't know which one that will be. So, and it's called temp master for now. And so invalid. Oh, was it master? I don't know if it's master. No, I thought it was that one. So is it? I don't know if it. Oh, it's the branch. The default branch is not master. It's Uno. Okay, so there you go. So I've created a second one. Now I'm going to be opening it so that we can have access to original code without fiddling too much with it and make searches. Because if you have changes locally, it doesn't work that well. I think I have 3 work trees for Uno. I know someone from the Uno team that has 4 or 5. Everyone has its own way for working on this. So let's see. So we're going to take a look at the original version of the code, the Monaco editor, to find out when we were initializing the presenter. So I think it was in here. Oh, let me check. So it was in Monaco editor. So we're talking about initialize objects. So initialize web objects was here, and it was invoked previously from web content DOM loaded. So that one doesn't look like it's invoked from somewhere. So it must be the other one. So we're talking about this one. And this one is invoked from 4 locations, but still not good enough. Am I looking at the right one? I don't know. because the view is supposed to be, oh, the code editor. There you go. Okay. So it happens when we're having the code editor loaded, and code editor loaded is invoked when we're loaded here. So it's supposed to be the right thing. So it's not happening correctly. So it looks like we have a discrepancy in the invocations. So let's try to find those. So we're in there. We're in the loading event. So the loading event is doing some things that we may not have been doing before. So let's see. Where are we doing a loading before? That I don't know. I think we were, but probably something that changed. Let's see. So in XAML page, the main page, where are we doing some things in the loading event? So we had the loading event here, and the loading event was doing a few things like adding commands and others. And the parent accessor was already available. So we're still not doing the right thing at the right time. So something else changed. Because we were supposed to be invoking the setup for the DOM loaded, but we're not doing it at the right place. So got the DOM content loaded here. That's raised. Raised DOM content loaded. We're having it here for the update. So what we could take a look at is try to enable that logging so we see a bit more about what is happening here. So the control that we're looking at is a Monaco. And there you go. So we're going to be putting debug here and see if we restart the application, what we can see in the debug log. Okay, so we can see create a code editor presenter from manage handle here, but still getting the add async command. So we're not seeing any other messages. So it could be that we're not showing. We're not showing the right debug. Let's see. It's Monaco. So we're supposed to be seeing messages like this one. So raise DOM content loaded, and it's not there. It's not there. So it could be that the logging is not showing the right levels. So let's try again. So what do we have now? Still not getting anything. So we get some warnings, but no messages that appear for Monaco. What do we have here? So maybe we're not executing anything there. Let's see if I put a console write line here, do we get there? Maybe the messages that we're getting are completely different. Could be that we're not. So the one that we're seeing is create code editor presenter from manage handle. And that message is coming from not even sure which one is coming from here. So this is not something that comes from this project. Could be manage handle. Could be Java. Could be JavaScript then. But the thing is that we're looking for the whole solution and we're not finding anything. So it could be coming from something else. Okay. So that's not helping. Okay, so we're gonna try to log some different things. So in code editor, Let's see, we do have some logging there. No, there's no log in this one. So it could be that we're not creating the control properly. Because when we're looking at when we're looking here, we see the code editor presenter. So it looks like it's created, but it may be that it fails. It fails right after it's created. It's supposed to be created. So it's probably because of the Jace handle that's created here, but it looks like it fails for some other reason. So let's try again. So we should be seeing that error message showing up, but it's not. So it could be failing for another reason. So we can see that it rebuilt. Okay, so raise DOM content loaded, it worked. But if it doesn't show the error messages here, it means that the logging is not showing the right errors. So it may not be configured properly. So what did I miss there? The minimum level is debug. It's logging to the WebAssembly console. Everything is set up properly here. Logging is there. Is it from another file? So it's in the right namespace. Maybe I'm not setting it up properly and I missed something. If I do some logging here, what happens? So we're in a static method. Let's make it not static. And see if we're getting to see something. So if it doesn't work, we're going to try with the console logger. But that's very curious. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be doing this. So may have missed something. Okay, so the logging is available in there, but for some reason the filtering is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So maybe I'm missing something in there. What did I miss? So we got the logging here. Let's see if I remove this to see if there's something different. So I do some info logging, for instance, because the namespace is the right one. So I may have written something different. It's probably obvious and I'm just blind now. Okay, so for some reason, the debug level for this one is not debug, it's something else. Could it be, I don't know what that is. That's very interesting. Because we're adding a filter there. The minimum is this one, so it looks like it's changing somehow. Okay, so for now, we're just going to be skipping this and we're going to be saying that log level is info, and we're going to be debugging this later on. It's not particularly useful for this stream. Okay. So I can see here that we're raising the DOM content loaded, but maybe we're not raising it properly. So what that means is that when we're doing this, the DOM content loaded, it's registered to the other one that we have in the code editor. And we're registering on that event. But by the looks of it, we're not observing that one. So let's go find that. Let's go find this in the other application. So we're searching for the DOM content loaded event. And in here, we're hooking on it in the UWP version of it, but it doesn't look like we're hooking onto it when for the other ones. So that's not what happened there. That has to be another one. The code editor presenter. Okay, so we're still not updating properly. Looks like we changed something that didn't work properly. Okay. Let's bring back all the changes that we had before. So did I change something else? So we have the register here. That's not supposed to, that didn't do anything. We get the view content loaded. That's been removed. There we go. Those two events are useful. Okay, so let's try again. Okay, so still not helping, but now we have a few. We should be able to register on those. So code editor unloaded. So that's the loaded here. We have the unloaded, and then I forgot about the unapply template. So we have, yeah, I changed the other, but not that one. So that's this one, and new window requested, not particularly useful, but let's add it anyways. Okay, so DOM content loaded and navigation completed were supposed to be invoked, and they're not anymore. So now it should be invoked. Okay, we have code. Okay, so that's better. I don't know. So it's supposed to be text. We have change language. I don't know what those do. It's set text. Okay, so the language changed did work. So this is some selected text. So that seems to be working better. Okay, so we have some highlights. So if we change the theming, that works as well. So I don't know what the change language does, but let's see. Let's upgrade this. So change language is going to be doing some interesting thing. Should be doing some highlighting after a while. Maybe, oh, I had to click multiple times. So change language is probably doing multiple changes. Okay, so there we go. We have a syntax highlighting. So that works properly. So now what we're going to do is change the sample so that we can get a second Monaco editor in the same application and see if we're getting something more interesting. Okay, so we're going to split that portion in two. And we're going to see if we can get a second editor working. So it's a column. And so this is supposed to be in here. And grid.column is going to be 0 for this one. And the second one that we're going to be adding is going to be on the right. We name it editor 2. And let's try again. So I changed some C#. I didn't change some C#, so I need to change this. Actually, it's something that we can change already. There's an up-to-date check that was supposed to be here. Up-to-date check input. So we're going to put this in our project so that when we change the C#, it updates, Visual Studio detects that something has changed. So let's put it here. And the project name is called the Monaco Editor Test App. So this is telling Visual Studio that if any of those files change, even if C# hasn't changed, then you need to rebuild, and that's what's needed in our case, because we changed some C# and we want to have some content. Okay. Well, it seems to work. So now I'm troubled, because I don't know if that's something that Michael changed, or if it is something that was there already, and that's an issue in the Monaco editor, in the playground. So let's see if the original Monaco editor, if we do the same modification that we did in the XAML here, if it works in the original version of the Monaco editor here. So I'm going to be doing the same modification in the main page, replacing the Monaco editor with the 2 editors. And now, one thing, I'm taking a look again, and maybe you've noticed, but the content of the code editor was the same on both. And I wonder if there's something else that needs to be changed there, because it's supposed to be empty by default, and it was not. So I wonder if it's something with, if I changed something here. No, it actually does something different. So maybe, did I do something there? Set text. Oh, okay. So it changes this one. Let's see. So if I change the language, which one changes? Okay, so it's this one. This one doesn't do anything. So I wonder if this is where this is coming from. Yeah. Yeah, that's not supposed to be. Oh, because it's a binding. Is it because it's a binding? Ah, that's right. That's correct. That's why we have the same content. So the content changes because the code content is different. So Jose is saying, don't forget my question. So you're saying, when should I use MVU or MVVM? Well, it depends. Mostly it depends on the framework that you want to use. So if you have a framework that does MVVM, then use that one, and it's more appropriate for the target. So if you're doing XAML, in most cases for now, that's what you have. But you can also use MVU, but it's a bit more difficult when using MVU with XAML targets. So MVU is more present in others. You have MVUX that we've provided as part of the Uno reactive. If you want to go there, you can see that what we've done with MVUX. You can also do something that looks like MVVM, but more reactive side. So let's say if you go with reactive UI is also interesting. So it's MVVM, but you're not doing an I95 property change in the same way that you're when you're doing MVUX with Uno, we don't have any property change that happened. So that's the kind of things that you can do. But MVVM is fine when you're doing XAML and in XAML frameworks. Now, when I say fine, is that because there are a lot of frameworks that do this. I95 property change is a pain to manage, and that's why we came up with MVUX, where you don't have to take care of I95 property change and where it comes from, and association with the UI thread and things like that. So yeah, we're trying to adjust the balance there so that that when you're doing some view models, you don't spend too much time having to deal with all this. For WPF apps, well, MVVM is probably the more appropriate one. Okay, so if I go back to the original one and try to see if I run the same app with editor 2, do I have do both editor work properly? So in there I am. Oh, I need to go back one because I think I committed on the default branch, which is not good. So let me revert this. Okay. So if I start the WASM app again, let's see if we do have something that works properly. So if we do have the two editors working properly, that means that there is something that didn't work that didn't work inside of the Uno playground. So, got to find where that comes from. So it's the original one with the linker running, so it takes a bit more time, and it's also an older version of the .NET of the Uno bootstrapper. So you can see here that you have the .NET runtime WASM Windows. That's been downloaded again because it's a different version. But that should be fast enough in general. Okay, so it's a different. We have another Visual Studio running in the same port, so let's run using IIS instead. The local IIS running there. So that looks good. So yeah, so that's the that's what's happening. So if I go back, I'm gonna open again the playground because I'm starting to wonder if I did break something. So until it builds, we're gonna take a look again at what we have 2 weeks ago and see if we can get the code to run properly. Still, so okay, so the app is starting, and let's see. Okay. Okay, so that's interesting because I don't have the second one. Why don't I have the second one? So maybe I broke something? Let's see. Or maybe I reverted everything. So that's probably why. It's my reset that did this. Okay, so let's go back to the code editor. Nope, missed the line. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so in the playground last week, we said we made some modification we had a code pane and a source pane. So the code pane was the XAML. I'm probably going to be renaming this to the XAML pane. And the source pane here is supposed to be having a Monaco editor, but it was not showing anything. So we're going to be testing this one out and see what needs to change. And I see that here the code editor was changed, but maybe there was something different. Okay, so it works. So maybe there was something different. So I probably should have tried this first because I assumed that we had issues with the editor was not working properly, but that's definitely not the case. So let's see if we try again in the playground. Maybe there's something else that is causing some issues. So we get the first the top was the tabs at the top. We had the code pane, the source pane, and maybe we do have something that is incorrectly setting up everything. So we got the code pane and the XAML text. So we got XAML text and source text. So let's see. Let's try again. So one good thing that we do know is that you can have two Monaco editors in the same project. So that's a good thing. And that's going to help us to be able to have the playground running properly with some XAML content. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. So I probably had something broken last week because You know, it's probably because that one was commented out for some reason, but there you go. Okay, so we have our two things. So our trip to the XAML, the Monaco editor was interesting because we actually did an update to the latest of what the XAML Hammer did for his own Monaco editor. Probably going to be pushing this one, so it allows you to see what we have there. So let's go take a look at what we can get with the code editor here. So one thing that we can see here is that when we start the app, the XAML here is empty. So maybe we can see here that the two are split. So the XAML is supposed to be here, and the C# is supposed to be here. So it looks like we have an incorrect thing here. So we're not setting the right pane at the right time. So we had the selected tab. So we have the source pane and the text pane. So source pane, when we're selecting XAML, is supposed to be hidden, but it looks like we're doing it the other way around for some reason. Source pane and code pane. So when we're selecting XAML, get the preview pane here. Source pane. Okay, so that source pane visible here in XAML pane. So it's called the code pane. So it's supposed to be visible. And so in there we have the code pane that's supposed to be collapsed. We're going to be changing that name because it doesn't mean anything. So let's change it right away. We're going to be calling it the XAML pane. Oh, we have to change that one specifically. Okay, so it's called XAML pane. It will be this one. Okay, so we got the XAML pane here, and let's rebuild it for now and see. So we get the latest. Okay, so our XAML pane is a grid, which is good. And we have, so when we're in XAML, we're hiding the source pane, it's showing the XAML pane. When we're in the C#, we're showing the source pane and disabling XAML pane. And when we're in data, the other two should be hidden as well. Okay. There, I probably missed something there. So it's collapsing the two. So the other thing, so when we're selecting in a combo box, so we have a combo box somewhere in there, combo box theme selection change, and that's not the theme that I want. It's the samples. We're not in the right one. Okay, XAML C#. So when I say changes this one, that's pretty odd. Probably doing something wrong there. So if we look in the playground, it's the samples combo box. Looks like we're hooking onto the event directly. Yeah, we go to selection change, and then selection change does a load sample, and the load sample does a lot of things like setting the data. It's XAML text here, and XAML text. So that's interesting because it's not supposed to be And that's supposed to be inverted, but it looks like they are. So maybe there's still something that doesn't work properly. So let's call it source pane. Let's put some text in it to see if we're not inverting the two. Maybe we are, but maybe there's something that I'm not seeing here and we're enabling the wrong ones. Okay, so no source code change. So we're going to be doing the same update that I did on the other one, which is because it's an older project. So we're going to be doing the same up-to-date check input thing for the playground. So with that, we can change this, the XAML and not have to wait for anything to be changed. There we go. So interestingly, it picks up the up-to-date check change immediately. So that's fairly nice. Okay, so it updated automatically. So that's one of the nice features of okay, source pane for both. That's not good. Okay, oh maybe. Okay, so it's still doing the right thing, but for some reason, it's not updating the right one. So we get source pane here, and it's source pane on both. That's where we have an issue. So it's sending the updates to the wrong content. So maybe we still have an issue there. We still have an issue because it looks like it's sending the updates to the wrong control. So let's go back to Monaco, the Monaco editor, the original one. And in here, instead of binding the text, we're going to do text. Let's call editor 1 and editor 2. That's it. Let's see if we, so that would mean if we're changing this and we're setting the text to the code editor, that the update is not going to the right version of the control. And that's exactly what's happening there. So we're going to have to go and track down what we're doing in the code editor text property change where, and to send that to the right version of to the right instance of the control, because it looks like it, both controllers are up, but we're not doing the right thing. We're not setting the right text at the right location. So it looks like that one's picked up, but okay, so let's go see. The text and code editor. We have properties. Let's see the text property. So in here we have invoke script async update content. And there's no source. So we're not saying which one should be updating. That's probably the biggest reason for the issue. So that any invoke script async that we're doing is not invoking on the right control. So, or maybe, yeah, we're invoking script async directly in the code editor, and that's not the right thing. Okay, so let's change this. Let's go see what update content does, because I don't know. Where's that one? So we have other scripts to be organized, TypeScript. And we have a Uno Monaco helper. Okay, so we have model here, which seems to be a global method. Everything's global. So if it's global, that means that all of it is going to be specific for one control, and then it's going to be updating the last one the last one's going to win. So that's not what we want to see. So that would be, let's see, it was in the TypeScript file, I would guess. Yes, it's that one. Okay. So we have a context here, which is likely the one instance that needs to be updated. But for update content, we have a model. But that model is coming from a global variable. So that's not what we want. And that one is that could be pointing to the fact that this variable is defined globally by JavaScript and defined in JavaScript. So that means that we can have two Monaco editor at the same time. So that could be a problem. Okay, so what we can find is the location where we're actually creating the Monaco editor. See what we're doing with it. So we have the DOM content loaded, and in there we are not doing anything here. Let's see where we are creating the actual DOM element. So we have some invoke script async. We have launch. Okay, so that's Monaco load. That's where we are creating the variables that are set globally that are causing the issue. So that's not technically the issue of the Monaco editor itself, because we have Monaco editor.create, but it looks like we're setting the editor to the window as a single instance. So that's why it's not working properly. So we have so Darren is saying that it's reminiscent of a challenge he had when porting a JavaScript RTF component to WASM. Yes. All state is global, and then it changes everything. Now, the thing is that in that context, we have a way to have multiple instances of that control. So that's not too bad. And in that context, what we could do is just have an ID for it. So all those variables that are set globally, we can set as a dictionary of objects, so that we index those variables as one per instance of a control that's being set, because we're re-executing this multiple times. So that looks fine. That means that we're going to have to change this in the right place. Now I can see that we're writing that code directly in there, probably for the wrong reasons, because it looks like we're not interpolating much except for this. So we are going to be moving this to TypeScript instead of running it here, because we can pass in parameters to the method invocation, and that's going to make it easier to read, because in there, not so easy. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's move that JavaScript out of C#, because it's unreadable. And especially if we need to change this to be, well, actually those three here need to be changed so that they're specific for a control. Then we're going to be altering that model so that the methods that we're calling in the async callback helper or something are are moving to the right location. Okay, so let's pull this one out. We can move that one to, where did it go? So those are coming from the original one. Okay, so what we do know is that at this point it works. So let's move this. Let's move this here. And it's merged from stream, and I'm just going to be removing the changes that I made here so that we only have the original Monaco editor and not the other one. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So the tech depth for getting C# integrated into, yes, it definitely blows up pretty quickly. I mean, it works to a certain extent, but afterwards, it's not a not a good idea, especially if you want to make some additional modifications. So let's move this out and make a new method. So well, let's use this. Let's put it here. So we're going to be doing initialize. Well, let's call it but I'm interested in the fact that that's the syntax with lambdas. I'm not sure why that was declared that way. Uh, no, TypeScript's already there. TypeScript's already there. You can see that there's actually quite a few of those here. So no, it works properly. It's set up the right way. I just need to have the control ID, so that will be handle. Let's call it idle handle. It's a string, and so this one we don't need. So interestingly, there's thing async call maps map that does the mapping already properly. So that's good. So let's pick this one up. But we're gonna have to undouble quote. And so that's interesting. Debug is it all caps? There's probably another debug log that's available in that context that we can use. But anyways, okay, so we're going to be doing some console.debug instead. Oh, it's not the only thing that needs to be changed. There's the double braces as well that needs to be changed. So there's double here and double the other way. There, much better. So the only thing here is that we have required that needs to be used. I don't. That one is interesting. I don't know where that one comes from. It's probably just because when I pasted it changed the indentation. Okay. So we have a window context here. Some debugging that goes way down. Okay. Console.debug. Let's change all those to console.debug. Now, the interesting thing is that it needs the access to require. And yeah, that's not particularly interesting here. So we're going to pass in that path because we need to get those values from somewhere. So let's going to do it like this. Base path. A bit of interpolation. But we still do need to require. So it's likely that we need to have some additional definitions that we don't have here. I'm going to add that later on. Create element. I don't know what element is here. Got a lot of options here. So the model did content change, that moved as well. Got the listening for selection changes. I don't think we need that one. I don't know where that one goes. Oh yes, it's the new require. So okay, so what makes it a bit hard to read is that the require callback is invocating a very long method. So we're going to move that one out as well. So decoration was already provided. Modifying selection is not supposed to be there. So I don't know if we're not capturing anything here, which is good. Oh yes, we're capturing modifying selection, but it's since it's a global one, it's probably something that we can change sometime later on. Okay, so let's change this one. We're going to make a second method that is going to be initialize Monaco editor. And this time we're going to pass in the handle again, because we need it to be able to set up some of the content that's been specified here. So we're going to be pulling everything here and put it in there. What I don't know is that we have a Monaco editor create here, which is good enough. What I don't know is where that element comes from. So you're gonna have to find this one out. Looks like a global something that was provided somewhere. Maybe Cal knows, but I don't. There's probably something that defines an element variable somewhere, but I don't see it. So maybe there's something else that sets that element that can be used in the TypeScript method. So we get element here, but we have no element somewhere else. So maybe we can search in the original one. Element is in Uno. Oh, because it's defined already. Oh, it's implicitly defined. Is that it? It's implicitly defined because we're in that method. Ah, okay. It's invoke JavaScript that does that. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna make it a bit more complicated because that element is not defined defined implicitly there. So I guess it's a local value. Yeah, that probably explains a bit of things. So I'm probably gonna ignore that one and pass it as a handle instead. Okay, so we've moved forward, and we do know that now we don't have support for multiple Monaco editors. Not the fact that Monaco editor doesn't support it, but the fact that the Monaco interrupt to the C# interrupt to the Monaco editor doesn't work properly. So that's what we're going to change. So I'll take a look at this next week, and if you stop by again, we can do this again. So I hope you learned a bunch. I did. Interesting to see all those internals of the Monaco editor. I didn't do the original implementation of this, so some parts are new to me. So that's very nice. And until then, have fun with Uno if you're playing with it and or working with it. And happy coding. See you next week. Bye.